What's up, everybody? Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving season. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit. I wanted to get on here tonight to catch you guys up on not only the reading, but just some personal life update stuff. The day before Thanksgiving, we actually lost my Aunt Tula. It was pretty sudden. I mean, it was kind of a slow decline. We kind of all knew she was going to die at some point. I didn't think it was going to be that soon. I was actually going to the rehab center, to the hospital, to visit Aunt Tula with my dad on that very morning, but we got the call from my godfather basically saying that, don't bother, she's already passed away. And honestly, I've been in kind of an existential depression like the past week. I'm kind of still feeling the effects of it now. I'm kind of getting out of it, just kind of starting to feel a little more like myself each day. But I was kind of surprised by the way that my aunt's death kind of hit me. It definitely affected me. I wasn't particularly close with my aunt. We had seen each other off and on, throughout my life, when we came down to visit. And then, of course, we spent a decent amount of time with her once we came down to Virginia. But even still, it was just sort of a more like a formal sort of family relationship. It wasn't a real close knit relationship that I know some people share with their uncles or their aunts. But honestly, it hit me pretty hard, and it was tough to go to that memorial service and then the funeral after that. And I guess it just goes to show that no matter what your relationship is with a particular family member or a friend, death always hits you like a ton of bricks, right? I mean, part of it was the fact that it was kind of unexpected, but I think there was a sort of a denial aspect too, that sort of shrouds death. We're in denial. We don't go to the hospital as much as we should because we're always thinking, oh, they'll recover, they'll get over it, they'll be out before we know it, that sort of thing. And then you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, and then before you know it, it's too late. And that's kind of and there's a lot of personal things with Aunt Tula that I'm not going to get into about her and her family. But when we were at the graveyard, and it was actually a beautiful day on my Aunt Tula's funeral. It was a beautiful day. It was cold, but the sun was shining. And I just remember the priest was saying the prayer. And in Orthodoxy, we sort of have a certain belief that, people are born into this world destined to die. And he said a lot of things that really made sense. And I just remember this cold breeze kind of went under the tent on the day of the funeral, and I was just kind of completely stunned and sort of paralyzed by this overwhelming sense of existential dread and just the 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 strangeness, the meaningless, the meaningful, but not meaningful. The I don't even know what I'm trying to fucking say. The existential strangeness of our lives is what I'm trying to say. I was completely stunned by this concept and this overwhelming sense of foreboding and fear, and kind of like my whole life just flashed before my eyes on the last couple days during my Aunt Tula's funeral. And I got a lot of really good short stories out of it. I added some stuff to my novel, and it was very helpful on the creative aspect. But I was in a pretty bad existential depression. I couldn't sleep for a couple days. I was having a lot of anxiety, and I think my aunt dying kind of hit close to home. Because just me living with my dad, and seeing my family get old, and it was my dad's little sister, and it was kind of sad that he kind of outlived her. It should have been the other way around, technically. I'm praying to God that my dad does not pass away anytime soon, but it was kind of sad, I think, for my dad to see his little sister go before he does. That's pretty crappy. And just the whole gambit of emotions and family drama, and just, I don't know, I have this heightened, this like sort of hyper sensitive existential response to death. But for some reason, my aunt's death just hit me harder. Maybe because I wasn't particularly close to her. Maybe that sort of gave me a more objective, sort of rational way to interpret and respond to the passing of a loved one, right? Maybe I was so close to my mother that when she died, I was like, I was just too close. I couldn't really respond to it in the way that, and I think I did respond to it, but it brought up a lot. When my Aunt Tula passed, especially at the funeral, it brought up a lot of those old, emotions of shock and disillusionment with existence. Frankly, I kind of had to kind of talk myself out of the sadness of what it means to be alive, what it means to be a human, the utter pointlessness of it all sometimes, and I had to just kind of calm myself down and say, there is some meaning in all of this, and I was just talking to my dad, a couple nights after the funeral, or the night of the funeral, and he was like, well, someday my time's going to come too, and just all these emotions just came up, and I was really, really sad and really just emotionally knocked out, but I did some really creative things with it. I put it all into my writing, into this sort of existential, over emotional, Thomas Wolfian type narrative that really helps to ease some of those feelings. But I was in like full blown existential crisis for a couple of days. It really hit me hard, and it just sucked. Like it always sucks to lose a family member, but it just, I had to kind of reconcile myself with God, or with whatever my belief system is, that yes, as sad as it all was, my Aunt Tula's life did have some meaning. At one point in time, my aunt was a young woman full of hopes and dreams and aspirations and love and all that stuff that we kind of all start out with, right? And then life kind of puts us through the ringer, and we end up not feeling so good. Our relationships go to the go south. We lose faith, and I think that was kind of the saddest part about Aunt Tula's life, is that she kind of, didn't necessarily, without going into too much detail, she did not really have a whole hell of a lot left to live for. And that was kind of the sad part, and you could take that in any way you so choose, but it was her family situation, it was her physical situation, and it was just another death that occurred too soon. So I've been sort of just trying to get myself out of those emotions, and I think I'll look back on a year and I'll be able to I'll really have learned from those feelings and the time that I had to spend with those existential, sad, depressing feelings about our existence. What is the true purpose of all this? Is there any point to any of this at all? What happens after we die? What was, but I just had this little moment, and I think the little breeze, as the priest was saying the prayer underneath the funeral tent, that when that breeze came through, it was after he paused or something, and I kind of believe that it was my Aunt Tula's spirit just kind of flowing off, and she was ready to go, but it was still really sad, and Father George kind of talked about the way that the true meaning of a loved one's life is the way that they live on in the memories of the people that are still here on earth. So without getting too much further into that, I do plan on posting this video on both of my channels just to kind of update everybody on what's been going on. So for the Andrew Marlowe channel, I do apologize. I know this is not a book channel, but we're uploading this on In-Depth Literature and Andrew Marlowe. So I am going to update you guys on the reading schedule. So let's get into it here. I'm going to start with this book that we haven't started yet, that we plan on starting probably within the next week or two. This is Harriet Jacobs, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. And we're going to be, the reason that we're reading this is to kind of supplement the Booker T. Washington story of the Negro book, which was, like we talked about previously, a pretty surprising history and a pretty surprising narrative of slavery as a whole. It was not what I was expecting. I can't talk today for some reason. Everybody's going to start thinking I'm going to have a stroke or something, because that's what it sounds like. But so yeah, we're going to be doing a whole live stream talking about the different interpretations of slavery, which one's more accurate, all that good stuff. So you guys can stay tuned for that. We're almost done with the story of the Negro. We've got maybe another 50 pages left, something like that, not too much more. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. We're also getting through The Count of Monte Cristo, Alexandre Dumas. This is a wonderful book, and it's not what I was expecting in terms of it's a lot more than just the surface level story, right? We have a lot of esoteric, historical, religious themes in here that we will be unpacking in the Alexandre Dumas video at some point, or live stream. It's probably going to be a really long live stream unpacking this mammoth of a book. Might have to break it up into different parts, but I do plan on watching one of the films after I finish reading this. I'm not going to watch it now because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a really good historical action adventure thriller, I would definitely suggest The Count of Monte Cristo. And like we said before, don't be alarmed by its size. It moves really quickly. We're already on page 175, and we're probably going to read a little bit of that tonight. We're also doing, I've got sticky notes all over this, so you can't really see it, but we're still getting through Within a Budding Grove by Marcel Proust. We're on page, let's see here, page 439. So we're a little well over the halfway point. So we're going to continue the Proust project, always reading Proust, always philosophizing on Proust. And we do have some Proust content coming up the next couple of months that you guys can look forward to. And also in the meantime, I just could not resist. I think I picked this up the night of my Aunt Tula's funeral. This is the complete short stories of Thomas Wolfe because I needed some nourishment from Thomas Wolfe. I needed his grandiose, over-emotional, existential prose that we get from Thomas Wolfe. You know, the way that he can rationalize his emotions and all the terror of what it means to be a human animal and all these beautiful things. And Thomas Wolfe has some really, really great short stories in here. We talked a little bit about this book a few months back, that the print was not very good. You can't really tell from here, but the print is really kind of blurry and scratchy. But if you kind of hold the book like, you know, about half an arm's length away, you don't really notice it. But the one that we're getting through now is a beautiful short story called Death, the Proud Brother. And this is when Thomas Wolfe was living in New York City. And this documents, in such a beautiful way, mind you, all of the deaths that he encountered in the concrete jungle in New York City. Some guy fell off of a giant building they were working on. Another guy got hit on the side of the curb. Another guy just died on the subway or something. So Thomas Wolfe is rationalizing not only the way that he responds to death, but also the way that he notices everybody else responding to death around him. So we're going to be kind of working through some of these Thomas Wolfe short stories. We may or may not read all of them. With Thomas Wolfe short stories, some of them are kind of hit or miss, but most of them are pretty darn good. And this is, you know, continuing with the Thomas Wolfe project. We're actually going to be going back and rereading of Time in the River at some point soon, possibly Look Homeward Angel. But we already kind of read Look Homeward Angel again when we read Oh Lost. I'll put the link in the description for all my Thomas Wolfe videos that you guys can sort of start, you know, experimenting with Thomas Wolfe. And I think that's all for the reading list. I do have a winter reading list that we're curating, but I do want to finish the Booker T. Washington. I do want to finish Marcel Proust before we start picking up anything else. So the Thomas Wolfe short stories is just a little great little way for me to kind of unwind, get away from Proust for a couple hours, get away from sort of the historical stuff, which can be kind of tedious at times. But like I said, and we still have the wonderful Count of Monte Cristo, which has just kind of been a really, really fun read that I crack open at least 3 or 4 times a week. And we're getting through that. We have some content planned for that. And like I said, we're going to be reading the incidents in the life of a slave girl to kind of supplement the historical African-American slavery narrative that we're just kind of thinking about and sort of rationalizing or interpreting rather. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys send me an email at andrewmarlowe22@gmail.com and send me a follow request or just send me a follow. I don't know the lingo anymore. I'm getting old, guys. I don't know whether it's a follow or a like or a share or what now. But please hit me up on Instagram at Andrew Marlowe Artist 22. No, that's not right at all. That's my email address. Hit me up on Instagram at Andrew Marlowe Artist Official, even though I'm hardly ever on there these days. But I do still go on there to check my messages. Please feel free to reach out. I want to hear from you guys about literature. You guys can check out the Body Positivity Plus Size Women playlist. I'm going to try to revamp some of those videos on the Andrew Marlowe channel so you guys can have that to look forward to. We do have another really in-depth heavy metal band documentary that we're going to be doing the next couple of days too, so please stay tuned for that over on Andrew Marlowe. And like I said, for in-depth literature, this channel right here, we have a lot of really tremendous content planned surrounding Thomas Wolfe, surrounding Proust, surrounding Bukowski, surrounding Booker T. Washington, and surrounding Alexandre Dumas, and lots of other really great writers. I have some interesting stuff that I do want to start working on for you guys. So thank you so much for joining us. God bless, and we'll talk to you guys next time.